Hi everybody, and welcome back. So today we're going to take a little bit of a change in direction from continuously stabbing people into cuts. So the first thing we have to work on is where we cut. So I think I've discussed this in our in-person class, that we have 4 quadrants of the body, and how we normally divide it, or if you look at text, people normally divide it right around the belt region. How I teach my class is we cut everything right about the sternum level. So we have 4 quadrants, and we've kind of worked on this in lessons. So with these 4 quadrants, we have to attack to them. And we've already started with our stabs with our Zweihängen, we stab to the upper quadrant, or we stab to the lower quadrant, in this case, the face or the belly button. So now, going into cuts, we have 4 locations to throw our cuts. We've already worked on 2 with our tear around. So high right side, high left side. Okay? Now, we're going to work on our lower cuts. Now, the reason I don't teach lower cuts in the beginning is it really confuses people. People want to start with a rising cut, and that's just no good. Just about every piece of literature says do not go for a lower, rephrase that. Don't open your attack with a lower quadrant attack. Because basic geometry, I go for a lower cut, I can't reach as well as you coming over and hitting me in the head as I'm going in. Now, that does not say that your second or third attack can be to the lower quadrant. And now that's what we're going to work on. Now in this exercise, we're going to work on cutting under, and we're going to start a new flow drill. So we already have our first flow drill of the figure eights, our second flow drill of tear arounds. Now our third flow drill are cuts and cut unders. Now, to do an effective cut under, we have to start with our oberhaus. So if I turn to the side, standard oberhaus, we come in, we make our cut. Now, to make the oberhaus, or to make the unterhaus, all we do was we push our pommel forward, all the way forward, right to here. It falls around our shoulder, and we crank this around until it's cutting under. You notice how my hand revolves right around here. So my fingernails are facing straight up. To cut back over, I push my pommel forward, and now my fingernails are down. Okay? So what we're doing is coming in with our unterhaus, and it's going to be a lot like our crank cuts that we worked on our last lessons. So crank cut is here, and we make this circle with our pommel. Okay? We just crank this pommel around, again, using our front hand, or our sword hand. So we have our sword hand, our pommel hand. We use our sword hand as an oarlock, and we crank this pommel hand around. This double cut, right here. Double cut, right like this. Now, to reverse that, we crank in the opposite direction, and you'll notice that your hands lock in this position. Okay? So now we just do kind of a semicircle crank cut. All right? Just like this. And now if you notice, if I continue this cut, I cut down with an oberhaus, I'm in a nice flug. I crank this around, and I finish, and I'm in an ox. Crank down, flug, crank up, ox. Crank down, flug, crank up, ox. But for right now, focus on having your arms out and crank up and crank down. All right, I'll do this facing you. So here, I've done my oberhaus, pushing that pommel in front of me, rotating my sword hand, and coming back down. So here, And I'm still using the true edge of my blade at all times. And again, we do not death grip our sword. If we death grip our sword, it's going to hurt our wrists when we make this crank. Because the first thing that's going to happen is, if you notice right here, my hand is all sorts of locked in, and my wrist is now turned. That's uncomfortable. Here, relax my hands. Again, using my sword hand as an oarlock, and relax. And you notice, as I'm doing this, the cut angle is still perfect. So here's that 15-degree off center, cut, rotate as I finish with a 15. Up, down, up, down. All right, work on that, and I'll give you another lesson in just a minute. Okay, continuing from where we just left off with our cut and cut under. Hopefully you've practiced this enough that you are now fully confident with it and can do it whenever you want. All right, so now we work on our flow drill. Reviewing, our basic flow drill is cut, just stepping out and cutting, just like this. All right? Nice and relaxed. So now we're going to build on this, adding the cut unders. So, stepping, keeping the feet parallel, we step, we make our cut. We crank, we do a cut under, we do a cut over, finish, cut, crank, cut under, cut down, finish, cut, cut under, cut over, and you just keep this going until it becomes nice and fluid, just like this. And you notice, as I'm making my cuts, my hands are now going into those guard positions. So flug, ox, flug, continue, flug, ox, flug. So as I build speed and fluidity, I am covering all my cuts and all my guards. Okay? So, practice that, and I'll have a few more things to work on for this. Now you got really good at that, we can start putting other elements together on this. So now you have 1, 2, 3, 4 sides. You have your cut overs, your cut unders to all 4 quadrants. So now, chaining this together, we can make exercises using these. But first, learning to cut to the 4 quadrants themselves. Now we can work on 1, 2, 3, 4 forever, but that's not really how a fight works. It's all about where the openings are. So your challenge homework is to work on cutting to different quadrants. And you'll notice that life changes. Some are more comfortable than others, but still getting used to them. For an example, I will make cut quadrants facing you. So if I'm in stance, I come in for my cut, I change. So in this case, I don't have a lot of space to show you. So I'll replace my feet, I'll cut under to the opposite side. From here, I cut over, I switch, I cut under, I can switch, I can cut over on the opposite side. I can still use my tear arounds to cut around here, cut low, cut high, tear around, cut high, cut low on the opposite side, cut high, tear around, cut here, and cut under. All right? Experiment. Play with these. Have some fun. These will build into our other lessons. Now we're just increasing the toolbox for what's going on. Now, when you want to think about this, how do I use them? Why do I use them? You use an undercut when somebody raises up to guard. So if I'm cutting and somebody blocks me with an ox, the whole lower line is now open. I come under. All right? So think about this. Say you're practicing cutting and you're thinking about your opponent. I cut in. They guard with a flug. Okay, that's no good. I tear around. They cut with an ox, or they block with an ox. Perfect. Their lower line is open. I come in. I cut underneath. Now, if you notice, this is the cool part of raising my arms up. My head is now protected. I come around. Boom. I cut under. All right? Or from here, I've just cut under. Maybe that didn't work. I cut around because it's going to take them too long to come over here. All right? So just come up with combinations in your head and work through them. The nice thing about this is it's really a good shoulder workout. And kind of the faster you go, the more confident you get, the better you'll be able to execute these when you're in sparring sessions. Okay? So, have fun with these, and I will see you on Tuesday.